even have the whistle, the voter registration conundrum, and why the IEBC and Treasury are poles apart. Also on the show tonight, OKA on the mountain. Are they coming after the main dance, or is it the best for last? We have a mountaintop perspective, plus the papers that opened a Pandora's box. What's inside? The president's cryptic statement, Raila's backing, and the return of the offshore debate to our shores. On Jamila's memo, what's in our vote? The 50+1 questions as registration kicks off. On the kicker, a salute to the investigative journalism we've seen over the last few days. Gashuri punches holes into the noises from anniversary towers. And on the angle tonight, science meets praise.
We have not yet chosen a preferred candidate. As Mount Kenya Foundation, as Mount Kenya people, we have no preferred candidate. Or once you talk to us, we will deliberate and we will go to Limuru 3 as a community of Gema Nation. We will go to Limuru 3 and make a decision who we are going to support as a community.
Why is Mount Kenya agitated? Mount Kenya is agitated, Cyrus Jirongo, because we are not going to field our own candidate. And we know we are exposed. This beautiful lady you are hearing is not worried. Getting more warriors, uniting. And we just want more and more of you to unite so that we are assured of our future.
All right, so warriors, beautiful girls, and all kinds of things going on that mountain. Our gangster in the box is Wilson Mushora. Lady, I should say, and gentlemen, Yvonne is off tonight. A very interesting day we have seen. About a week ago, ODM leader Raila Odinga appearing before the Mount Kenya Foundation, I should say appearing, because that seems to be what's going on. And today we have OKA in the very same venue, Linus. A very interesting development, because last week it did appear to a lot of people who watched that entire event that the Mount Kenya Foundation appeared to have basically indicated where where they were putting their stakes for next year. And today we saw a new group, sort of making their case before this very influential group. What are you reading?
I'm reading a process that is taking the form of a traditional engagement ceremony. I come from a community where actually in the old days, and not very old, I mean, I have personally attended one such ceremony where in the engagement ceremony, all the suitors are heard on the same day. But we're calling here a rorashio, and that's what's taking place in Safari Park. So last week there was one suitor. Today there were 5 that were heard by these elders of the Mount Kenya Foundation. But what really came out to me as a big point is when the chair there of the proceedings, Titus Ibui, the correct pronunciation is
Ibui.
Ifoi.
Ifoi, yeah.
Ifoi, the B becomes an F. I mean, we're talking Rorashio here. So, and he said that there'll be Limuru 3. This falls in place with predictions we really projected here on this show that in the end, sometime next year, or sometimes early next year, when now the race is taking shape, there'll be a Limuru 3 in which the Mount Kenya Foundation, in which the leadership of the Mount Kenya region will come together again and say, this is the political direction that the region will take. The question, of course, is, will everybody play ball? Will everybody play along? How much is Mount Kenya Foundation carrying? Who is in it? And will they persuade everybody in the mountain to actually pick the direction that or instructions on how to proceed from them. So we have an interesting many months coming, but I really want to say that, look, it has taken that shape of a ratio, and they said, we've had you, now OKA, welcome to Mount Kenya region, you campaign, but wait for our verdict on after the Limuru 3, whenever that will be.
That is interesting. And Francis, a lot of people observing that it didn't look exactly like the same group of people that met the ODM leader last week. One, in the sense that some political leaders who were very loud during that meeting seemed to be conspicuously missing. Someone said we had more suits in there, better looking, some people even said. But I think more seriously, the composition of that meeting appeared slightly different from what we saw last week. I don't know whether we are reading too much into the fact that people like Francis Kimemia, the governor from Nyandarua, Lee Kenyanjui wasn't there, the governor from Laikipia, and Nderetu Mureithi, all of these people who were very vocal last week and made some rather weighty statements there. For some reason, they weren't present at all at today's meeting. Should we read anything at all into that?
We can't avoid to read something out of it. Even the hype that was there last week compared to today's, today was a few decibels lower in terms of the hype that we saw last week. And probably it would make one conclude that maybe a decision has been made, and so whatever else was happening today and may happen in the future is a formality. That would be a viable kind of an analysis from whoever would look at what happened today and what happened last week. The stature, the kind of discussions that went in there, and probably even the team that went there was cautious about it. There are sentiments that were expressed by Cyrus Jirongo, who accompanied the 5 presidential hopefuls from One Kenya Alliance, and that, hey guys, please hear us like any other person. Hear what Jirongo was saying.
About preferred candidates.
Yeah.
Let us go to the ground. You people must never have a preferred candidate. Let all of us work as a team. And at the right time, Kenyans will see who is this so qualified to take us through this very risky period. I want to urge all of you, and the problem is coming from the mountain, don't have preferred candidates.
Yeah, you see, Joe, one would not be far off from making that assumption that probably it looked like from last week there is a preferred candidate by the foundation team. And that's why Jirongo and the other team members who went there were sounding that concern from the onset that don't look like you have a preferred candidate. And that preferred candidate that they are talking about is Raila Odinga. Mm-hmm. And we've seen meetings previously in Mombasa, in Nairobi, where after a meeting in Mombasa, for example, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, and Musalia Mudavadi came out to address a news conference and say we should not be seen to be headed in one direction. You remember that discussion in Mombasa?
Yes.
So maybe they have a valid concern that probably there is a preferred candidate. It is now up to the foundation to assure them that there is no preferred candidate. But it's
that is assuming they don't have a preferred
assuming
candidate.
Assuming they don't.
Yeah.
But it's also important to listen to the second part of Jirongo's statement, that you people, you the foundation team, and then another rider, let us work together. So does it mean that even the team that went into the meeting today, maybe there's a plan, there's a script that eventually they will all end up in one team? Maybe.
And it's interesting, actually, Jamila, that even Musalia Mudavadi himself said this thing, and it came from all of these different people that, look, give everybody a chance to be heard. It was almost as if whatever pronouncement comes out of Safari Park, that will really be what determines the election. And that to me sounded very interesting. But to just see all of these people making their case and say, hey, don't write us off, just listen to us also, make this a level playing field. It was quite interesting to watch and to just listen to all of those, the five men.
It was a pick me kind of meeting today. And I think we can listen to some of those bites before we continue. Gideon Moi was one of those who were present. Remember, he launched his presidential bid officially last week, and he said he's the youngest and he believes he's the one who should get...
played that Kanu jingle as he went to the podium.
To the podium. Can you listen to Gideon Moi saying he's the youngest?
You have one girl uko na msichana ambao hao wanaume waine ambao watano hao ndio wanamtaka, and you said you cannot give to sisi watano, si ndio? Unajua kwa hao watano mimi ni kitinda mimba. I'm the one who's the most energized and the youngest. So unaniwachia mimi nitangulie, hao wengine watajisort wenyewe.
And Joe, that was the sentiment by most of them there, Nichagweni Mimi. And I think it shows the importance of an endorsement by Mount Kenya Foundation, what it will mean for the votes from Central Kenya that all these candidates want, those aspirants want, so that they can in their race to the State House. But Joe, I think also something else that came out during today's meeting is what is in it for Central Kenya. I was listening to Governor Martin Wambora talking about how the person they pick has to be someone who will look at the interests of Central Kenya. And it was a sentiment I think that was spoken about by a lot of the leaders who spoke today. And I think maybe we can listen to Martin Wambora on that issue.
On the future of
the future of them and the issue of representation, which is at the heart of what is important to Central Kenya.
Why is Mount Kenya agitated? Mount Kenya is agitated, Cyrus Jirongo, because we are not going to field our own candidate. And we know we are exposed. This beautiful lady you are hearing is not worried. Getting more warriors, uniting. And we just want more and more of you to unite so that we are assured of our future. The economy of Rwanda, Burundi, and Southern Sudan cannot match the economy of Mount Kenya region. We have not changed our boundaries in Mount Kenya region for the last 25 years. Please promise us, if you get these positions, within 100 days, you'll just make sure that happens.
That issue of representation is important to the central region. And I think it's partly why BBI was popular in that area, because of the promises that had been made if they supported it. But now Gashuri is saying, okay, it's maybe almost a foregone conclusion that maybe Raila Odinga is the preferred candidate. But it'll be interesting to see what happens next. We clearly can see that DP Ruto has not been invited to these meetings with the Mount Kenya Foundation. And as it was said by the deputy chair of the foundation, that now they're going to retreat to decide who they're going to name as their candidate. It means Deputy President William Ruto is not in that equation. So what next now for Mount Kenya? Because remember, there are those leaders from the area who have aligned themselves with the deputy president. Is their voice important? Will they be invited to the Limuru 3? Will we hear what they have to say as they try to pigia debe the candidate they prefer? Because remember, UDA is also a part in this. We cannot ignore that the deputy president is the one, other than Gideon Moi, he's the other one who's already declared his interest in running for the president, the party that he's going to run under. In fact, I think also the party officials, their names have been forwarded to the Register of Political Parties. I think there are 31 names representing from the chairman, the secretary general, the treasurer, some interesting names in there. So I think he's a player still in this, and it's clear that he's not going to be consulted by the Mount Kenya Foundation. But what happens in Limuru 3 will be very interesting, considering he has his support.
But I mean, remember the things he has said about the Mount Kenya Foundation. Foundation, the things that the people who are close to him have said about the Mount Kenya Foundation. Obviously, he doesn't seem to believe that this group is a factor or should be a factor in deciding what happens, not just in the Mount Kenya region, but in the election that we're going to have next year. I think he takes the view that he can go directly to the people and talk to them and sell to them this agenda, the bottom up, and all of the things he has been saying about going directly to the people. Even I mean, today he's spoken about that. But I think and we'll get to what the DP was saying as late as today. But I think there's something that came out there which for me is quite significant. I mean, Gideon Moi spoke about this Kitindamimba thing and everything almost as if it is a joke, and he made light of it. But the truth of the matter is that it betrays the sort of Cold War that may be going on within OKA itself, in the sense that they obviously haven't decided who it is. They probably are yet to do that or unable to do that. That usually is not easy. I mean, for people to come up with one candidate, a group of people like that, it's a lot of horse trading, and everybody there feels entitled. If you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, he has been Raila Odinga's running mate twice. He has been a vice president in this country and all of that. So there's a sense in which he's been an MP since 1983, I think it was, Linus, in that by-election. And so there's a sense in which he sees himself as the most senior of this grouping. So if there is anybody whose time is now in OKA, he's saying it is him. If you look at Musalia Mudavadi, again, he has his own credentials. He's been a deputy prime minister in this country.
And a vice president.
A vice president, albeit for 3 months. But he has his own credentials, and he feels that he has backed Raila Odinga in 2007. He was part of NASA. He's ran for president himself in 2013, and there's a sense in which he feels that his time is now. Gideon Moi, interesting, he says, well, you know, I'm now the more energetic, in a sense, saying, well, these guys probably past their sell-by date and that sort of thing. And I saw an interesting dynamic as well, where each one of them was trying to sort of put on the table their credentials insofar as a relationship with the Mount Kenya region is concerned. So much so that Kalonzo Musyoka saying, well, I'm the guy who actually told the president to appoint Uhuru Kenyatta as the deputy prime minister in that Nusu Mkate government. And then there was also Moses Wetangula saying how he's the one who was sent by President Mwai Kibaki when there were problems around that election, that he's the one who went to speak to John Kufuor in Ghana. Is the same person who was sent to try and speak to Mkapa, saying all of them came to Kenya, and in a sense saying, well, I also have a history with the region. Musalia Mudavadi talked about the 1982 coup and saying how he was picked up from Ululu and saying that he had to hibernate somewhere in Nyeri, in Othaya, actually.
When his uncles abandoned him.
So saying, look, I have a long history with this region. When my own people, my own uncles couldn't accept me, I found succor and refuge in Nyeri, in Othaya of all places, where President Mwai Kibaki himself hails from. So it was very interesting seeing how each one of them in their own individual way, over and above the fact that they went there as OKA, but it was quite intriguing to see each one of them trying to endear themselves to that bloc individually, as opposed to saying, hey, we are here as OKA. But each one of them saying, guess what, I also deserve this thing because of this connection. An interesting dynamic, Linus, which would be quite fascinating to watch over the next couple of months, how the OKA situation resolves itself.
Quite an interesting situation in OKA, because if a sales pitch was to be written on what was going on today, then we would talk of 5 for the price of 1.
Yes.
I don't know, because
buy one, get for free.
Yes, buy one and get for free. There is something in OKA that is yet to happen, and that is the issue of who is the flag bearer within the OKA is going to be. And so there was this contest today, not just to woo Mount Kenya and Central Kenya, but also to position themselves as the best candidates for the for the office of president. I want us to listen to Musalia Mudavadi when he was speaking about trust.
Who can you trust with the leadership of this country? Examine us. Who can you trust that, given a position of authority, that individual, he or she, will not in any way misuse the office to visit hell and trouble on other Kenyans because they believe there's a grudge to settle?
Now, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi has several times, many times, positioned himself as a safe pair of hands, the person that will not undo things in Kenya. He's also demonstrated a lot of commitment to the question of the economy, constantly talking about the debt ceiling, constantly talking about the need to address unemployment. He's been big on the economy. And here before Mount Kenya Foundation audience, you would see he also did struggle a bit on the question of the economy, because it is a struggle. Both Raila Odinga in ODM and the team in OKA find themselves in a difficult place, because when you criticize the economy, then it means you are criticizing President Uhuru Kenyatta, and that becomes a bit of a difficult conversation. He went into the issue of, if you remember, Gashuri, the issue of containers and how that caused quite a lot of discomfort among the small business people in Nairobi who could not actually get together. They were stopped from getting together in importing consolidation of the container. Quite a big issue it was. But remember, that hits at the government. That hits at President Uhuru Kenyatta. So this team, just like Raila Odinga, will find themselves in that difficult space of, while you are selling yourself, can you not talk of the shortcomings of this current administration? Because then it means you are biting that political hand that is feeding you, because all of them are actually courting the support of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And to do that, they also have to walk the thin line. Do we criticize? Do we really go all the way on the economy? Which is why Musalia Mudavadi there sold trust. In selling trust, what Musalia Mudavadi was doing was to basically attack his two other opponents. I don't think those in OKA, but those outside OKA. And that will be Raila Odinga in ODM and Deputy President William Ruto. He's basically saying, the two of us, the three of us, who do you trust of us? And by the way, he did speak about someone, who can be trusted with power. He also made a reference to rent and things like that, something that we know did come up as campaign propaganda in 2013 and 2017. So that was seen as a dig at Raila Odinga. And the issue of power and usage of power obviously was a dig at Deputy President William Ruto. So what Musalia Mudavadi is trying to do here is telling the Mount Kenya Foundation, I am the safe pair of hands. I will not unravel the house.
Joe, even as Musalia sold the trust card, there's also another interesting one he was selling, safety. You see, in the 2017, 2013, 2007 general elections, one of the cards that was used heavily to fight ODM leader Raila Odinga was the question of safety. And it is safety for businesses, safety for properties, safety for that business environment. And you hear Musalia say this is what he brings. You see, the Mount Kenya population since 2007 has always been very cautious about the business environment. And you'll hear, like between 2007 to 2017, when Raila Odinga was being viciously fought in the region, those who were fighting him were saying he was not good for business. Even some of the members of the foundation seated in that meeting at Safari Park today are on record saying he was not good for business. But relate to what they were saying last week and some of the sentiments that were coming from other leaders, that he would be good for business now, he understands the environment and so on and so forth. So basically trying to take advantage of what normally are the fears of the mountain, a business environment and safety for property, so to say. That has been the selling point in 2007, 2013, 2017. And as Linus rightly says, you would look at what the presentations were today as a dig at the deputy president and a dig at Raila Odinga. Now, another fundamental question. So are the interviews over by the Mount Kenya Foundation? Are they over? Will they invite, let's say, all the other presidential hopefuls? Justin Muturi has said he wants, Mwangi wa Iria has said he wants, Ruben Kigame has said he wants, and several other people. Will they also... Jimmy Wanjigi has said he wants. Will they be allowed to come before the Mount Kenya Foundation and make their presentation? Looks highly unlikely. So can we say the interviews are over and now we wait for the results?
They probably had a short list.
Yeah, they had a short list. And so what was this short list? How was it arrived at? And thirdly, once they have identified a proposed candidate or a preferred candidate, what do they do with that candidate? Do they now say, this is the person we will back with our resources, with our time, with our energy, with our strategy? And will they make a presentation, let's say, to President Uhuru Kenyatta and say, this is the shortlist, this is the person who we rank first? And will their ranking relate to the president's ranking, if he has any?
And I want us to talk about that because Raila Odinga, and Jamila wants to come in, but I know you can combine all of these things because Raila Odinga has been speaking this week. Yesterday he had an interview with all the Kalenjin, Kalenjin radio stations, but of course we also had an interview with him on the sidelines of that. And basically one of the biggest things he was talking about is this issue of being Uhuru's project. Yeah. And that project tag in this country usually can be quite problematic, and the president himself would know that because I think Raila Odinga is one of the people who used that very effectively against Uhuru Kenyatta in 2002. And so he basically came out fighting that tag, Jamila, and it relates to all these things we've been discussing, that could he be the preferred candidate of the region? There is an assumption, obviously, that the Mount Kenya Foundation there is not just speaking from nowhere, that the president himself could be the invisible hand that is pulling the strings somewhere behind the curtains. This whole question of project, preferred candidate, everything, something that Raila Odinga may have to deal with going forward.
And the bite is here
the
first.
soundbite is there, yes. Let's listen to it.
I'm getting opinions of the people of Kenya on different issues. And I've said that at the end of these consultations, which I hope is going to be by the end of this month, I will then, I've made up my mind, and I will make an announcement if I'm going to run or if I'm not going to run. He has never told me that I'm his preferred candidate. I think he said he was going to talk at some time. But what I know is that I'm not his project. That if I'm going to run as Raila Odinga, and I have already run for president. I have a track record which is known. I don't need to be sponsored by anybody. I will go to Kenyans themselves and tell them what I've done in the past and what I'm capable of doing in the future. And if the president gives me a support, backs me, it will be a compliment, and I will be very happy to receive it.
That's very interesting. I think coming on the back of the meeting that the tour of Kibra that the president and Raila Odinga had last week, where they were opening a hospital, and the president was almost endorsing Raila Odinga. Just fell short of endorsing him and giving him his support. And Raila here saying, I'm my own man, that if I decide to run, nimeamua mwenyewe and I'm not anyone's project. And I think this this, what Raila said, and also something that was said today at the meeting in Mount Kenya, we cannot underestimate Uhuru Kenyatta in this whole equation. You know, some are saying he's lame duck, he's finishing his term, all those things, but his importance cannot be understated. And before you continue, I want us to listen to the sound by Mr. Titus Sibui saying, don't insult Uhuru.
If you don't respect our president, you call him names, you say what? No, Mount Kenya people will not be with you.
I think there are a few people who will be locked out of that now after that statement by Titus Sibui about not insulting the president. But he's important in this whole equation. And even as Raila says that he's his own man, that he's not Uhuru's project, Uhuru's support for him has been seen from the handshake in March 2018.
Yeah.
Yes, it was March 2018. And the fact that they've been together, they keep talking about working this journey. Uhuru keeps talking about how he's been able to do so much more in this term compared to the first term. He keeps talking about Ndugiyangu. He talks about the peace that has come, and he keeps defending that handshake at every chance he gets. And I think also for Raila Odinga, he is starting to get support from people who would not have dared support him earlier on. And it's because of this association with Uhuru Kenyatta, in my opinion, that is getting his support. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the governors like Francis Kimemia of Nyandara. We are talking about even the party itself, Raphael Tuju and David Murathe, who was Secretary General and Vice Chair of Jubilee, were actually behind this whole thing of trying to create some sort of coalition between ODM and Jubilee. We have all these other governors from Mount Kenya who Raila met last week. Lee Kinyanjui was one of them. The Laikipia governor was another one. The members of parliament from Kanini Kega. We have even the women rep Sabina Chege, and all those members of parliament who are at the Mount Kenya Foundation lunch where Raila attended. There is this support that is coming Raila's way, and it's because of his association with the president and the perceived support of Uhuru for him. So even if saying I'm my own person, I'm not Uhuru's project, there is this perception that wako pamoja, and the fact that it's just a matter of time that Uhuru Kenyatta will probably just endorse Raila.
Joe, in relation to that, it would be interesting to listen ultimately to what the president will say about who he would vote for and why he would vote for such a person. Who would be his preferred candidate and what would inform such a choice? But by all means, if you know what we call telltale signs from what he says, how he does a few things, you can clearly tell where his interests lie and who probably his preferred candidate would be in this whole equation. Now, and that probably informs Raila's a clear statement on the project tag, because the project tag is not necessarily a very good thing in this country. Projects are, do I say, frowned upon. There's a problem with projects. And so one of the things that Raila Odinga will try to do as much as he can is to run away from that project tag. And he would probably try and do that very effectively because he's not a newcomer in politics. He has vied 4 or 5 times. And so he would try to run away from that. But secondly, it is also important to note that before this meeting today, the Mount Kenya Unity Forum that has Mwangi Kiunjuri, Martha Karua, Moses Kuria, this morning, Martha Karua met the OKA team before they went to Safari Park, and we are aware that they told her to communicate to the other members of the of the Unity Forum that the OKA team is ready to work with them. And you've seen what the Mount Kenya Unity Forum has been doing, trying to push for what they consider the stake of their political parties in the Mount Kenya region and its succession race. And even Moses Kuria going to an extent of laying the demands for the region that 40% of government, the deputy president position, and so on and so forth. The running mate position. Yeah. So the game is getting very, very interesting. And this would be my prediction. Maybe by about December, a few of these questions that we ask on this table will have an answer.
But Linus, I'm sure you want to come in here because it's quite interesting that we would talk about Project and Raila Odinga in the same sentence in 2021. Quite interesting. But looking at how Raila Odinga was speaking there, that on the one hand, he wouldn't want anybody to think that he's anybody's project, not the president's, not anybody's. But at the same time, he actually needs the president's backing in some way if he is to make the inroads in the Mount Kenya region, considering the amount of damage that has been done to his reputation, thanks to a large part by the president himself in previous elections.
3 times Mount Kenya made it impossible for Raila Odinga to be elected president. And this 4th time, this report of being the project of Mount Kenya. Does he really mind it? In his most sincere of hearts, that the region that actually voted against him all these years is somehow warming up and saying, we can actually work with you. I think this must be a prospect that is thrilling Raila, even if he's not showing it. Because first of all, it removes the greatest barrier. It has been the peaks of Mount Kenya have been basically very difficult to reach the last 3 elections. Remember, Raila Odinga has had 3 very tough elections from 2007, 2013, and 2017. All of those 3 elections were with candidates from Mount Kenya. That is Mwai Kibaki in 2007. Central Kenya, Mount Kenya region voted to a man for Mwai Kibaki. 2013, 2017, Mount Kenya voted to the last man for President Uhuru Kenyatta. And here now is a prospect of the voters that voted for Uhuru Kenyatta and Mwai Kibaki actually casting their ballots for Raila Odinga. I don't think it's something he would deny in private. Some of these things you say in public. I mean, we've seen politicians almost denying that they are running for power. They're saying, no, we're not looking for power. No. They're all running for power, but
the opponents are power hungry.
Yeah, the opponents are power hungry. There are a lot of these denials that politicians make out there, because it is important that, first of all, it shouldn't look like a project. And what you've seen happening with Raila Odinga's opponent, and let's pick the Deputy President, William Ruto, for example, he's been responding with a direct to the people sort of strategy, and saying, I need to talk to the people.
Yeah, we can play some sound bites.
Yeah, he was in Kilgoris today, yes. The Deputy President, and there's something interesting he was saying.
About his track record or something?
Yeah, he was saying when his opponents have no track record, he has.
Let's listen to that.
Wale tunashindana na wao, mimi nataka niwaambie hivi. Sisi tuko na agenda ya bottom up economic model ya kuinua watu wa chini wasiokuwa na kazi, biashara yao ni ndogo, kilimo yao iko chini, tuinue ndio twende pamoja. Nyinyi hamuna agenda. Agenda yenu ni kupigana na Ruto. Mimi nataka niwaambie my friends, tafuteni agenda. Bure mutazama. Hawa tunaoshindana na wao hawana track record, kwa sababu ni watu wa Tibime na Tialala. Sisi tumejenga reli, tumejenga barabara, tumeunganisha stima, tumejenga TTI. Tafuteni track record ndio tushindane na kwa wananchi wa Kenya waamue.
That's from my hometown of Kilgoris. And you realize the clip delayed for a few seconds. We talk distance.
Just to get here.
Yeah, just to get here. But there it is. This is what the DP is doing. The DP is talking directly to the people. And his communications team, including Dennis Itumbi tweeted earlier that the Kilgoris Foundation
making a dig at Mount Kenya Foundation.
Kilgoris Foundation met with the DP. So this is the shape of the race. And there's something, and one of our...
So is that still Kilgoris?
Yeah, that's Kilgoris. That's the DP's residence in former Vice President's,
Murumbi.
what used to be former Vice President's home, the late Joseph Ole Murumbi.
Okay, but leaders, I know we're going to go into a break, but I found that quite interesting, where on the one hand, and this I think has been the dilemma of the DP's campaign, where on the one hand, he's taking credit for the things that he says they have done, a track record and all of that, and then at the same time, basically saying that he wants to do something different. So running with this record and running against it at the same time, because it's a tension that he has to deal with as he goes on with his campaign.
He sits in a very difficult space. First of all, being the deputy president, he should have been the in-house candidate. He should have been in this Mount Kenya Foundation gatherings, because these are the allies of the president. And so there definitely appears to be a price to pay in the broken relations between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto, because suddenly he's actually having to fight for the Mount Kenya vote. Because what we're seeing with MKF, what we're seeing the last few days, is a fight back to the narrative that the DP had made inroads to Central Kenya and Mount Kenya directly, you know. But here is a team telling you, no. We work in a certain way. We are regimental. We discuss these things. We sit in a tent. There is Limuru 3. These are very, very interesting steps which seem to leave out the DP. And where does that leave the DP? It leaves him with that space of having to fight very, very hard that direct to the people strategy. And is it new? One of our newspapers recently compared the style of Deputy President William Ruto and that of Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga, for all his career, has actually done this direct to the people thing, where somehow you believe you can sidestep lobbies such as the powerful Mount Kenya lobbies. But this is going to be a test election. We're going to basically find out from William Ruto with his direct to the people approach, and Raila Odinga, who is combining the direct to the people approach with engaging lobbies like Mount Kenya. We'll see where are we in terms of our politics. And lobbies, by the way, are a normal part of politics. In the US, elections actually involve very, very powerful lobbies, including in the stage of raising funds and all that. Mm-hmm. If we are talking of models, then they do exist out there. Lobbies do try to have a say in elections. They have tried all the way from 1953, after the exit of President Eisenhower, coming this way. The lobbies have been playing a big role in deciding who shall be president. So MKF sits in a space that is perfectly legitimate. Mm-hmm. Negotiate, listen to all the five, listen to one, probably the DP at some point, and determine who becomes the next president. It is not an illegal exercise on the part of lobbies. And on that, we lobby for the break now.